Hi, my name's Andy, and this is the Power 2 Pod.
And I'm Jason.
And this is going to be our week 4 preview. We're going to give you two game of the weeks, one in the SEC and one in the Big Ten. Then we'll go give you a rundown of some of the other top games in the conferences. We're going to do our odds on campus, where we give you three bets that we like. And then we are going to give you our lock of the week. So let's get started. Let's get started with the big one in the SEC with Tennessee visiting Oklahoma, ranked matchup. And what do you have on this matchup, Jay?
Obviously, you expect Tennessee to come out shooting. Their offense has been hot, and Oklahoma has been struggling against lesser talent. They played Tulane last week and only squeaked out a win, 16-12. So, their Oklahoma's defense is going to have to really show up to slow down this Tennessee offense and Nico. But I think it's still going to be a tough game. It's an SEC game. Tennessee's on the road, and I think that it'll be a closer game than what people expect. And I personally think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring. I don't think Tennessee will just be able to put up 50 points like they have been in the last three games. So I think that Brent Venables will have kind of an answer, at least an answer early in this Tennessee game. So I think it will be a little bit closer, but I definitely do think Tennessee will outlast them and get a road victory here, which is huge in the SEC.
I'm kind of on the opposite side of it. I'm going, this is Oklahoma's welcome to the SEC moment. This isn't going against Kansas and Kansas State anymore. Like, you're going against Tennessee, top one of the top teams in the SEC, and I'm looking for Tennessee to really lay it on them. I'm gonna go with I'm looking at like Tennessee scoring like 40-20. I just don't think Oklahoma can slow down Tennessee based on what we've seen from them. And then with Oklahoma not exactly having the most explosive offense, I just don't really see this game being close. And like I said, I can really see this being Oklahoma. Hey, you wanted to join the SEC? This is what it's like week in and week out.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is going to be a huge benchmark for both these teams on where they're going to look with their season going forward. Tennessee did travel to North Carolina State 2 weeks ago, but both of them have played pretty weak talent so far. And so it'll be interesting to see how these teams both play each other. And I think it'll be a big benchmark on on what the season looks like going forward. But I think the biggest question mark is Jackson Arnold in this game. Can he put his offense on his shoulders and lead this team to what they need him to be? And like I said, I think their defense is at least average for an Oklahoma team, but I think it's Jackson Arnold is either the make or break in this game.
Yeah, I mean Oklahoma ran Dylan Gabriel out of town basically for Jackson Arnold. Brent Venables, the head coach, he's defensive minded, and they lost their offensive coordinator last year to Mississippi State. So, I mean, with Oklahoma, they're still trying to find that identity on offense, and I don't think it's a good time to find it against a team like Tennessee who's looking strong on offense and defense this year. Moving on to our second game of the week in the Big Ten, we got a ranked matchup between USC, who is visiting the Big House. Going to be at 3:30, I believe. And Michigan made the change earlier this season, or earlier this week, I should say, to Alex Orji being named the starter, which was really odd to do. Like, why are you announcing that on Monday or Tuesday? Just don't announce it. You just gave up any competitive advantage you may have had by not telling that. If USC is going to prepare for Davis Warren, well, there's two completely different styles there between Alex Orji and Davis Warren, and you just gave USC, hey, you have a week to prepare for Orji, unless Sharon Moore's going to flip the script and go with somebody else, but it doesn't sound like it. So I thought that was really odd that he came out with that news early in the week. It's definitely time for Michigan to flip the page on Davis Warren. I mean, he's proved not to be able to take care of the ball. In this day and age of football, it's all about not turning the ball over. And now you're going to a more mobile quarterback with Alex Orji. You're going to sacrifice some of the passing game because of that. But if you're looking at Michigan, They haven't shown any explosiveness in the passing game. The receivers haven't really been getting wide open or into space. So it looks like, Michigan's going to lean into, hey, we're going to go 3 yards in a cloud of dust with either Alex Orji, Donovan Edwards, or was it Mullins, the other running back? Like, that's what it appears to be. They're going back to, we're going to run it, see if you can stop it. And it's going to be a big test for USC's revamped defense. Is this defense for real? I mean, LSU did find some success on the ground against USC, and USC stand up to a Big Ten rushing attack. And then, of course, on the flip side of that, can Michigan slow down USC's offense? USC is widely regarded as one of the best offenses in the country. They're usually, Lincoln Riley's viewed, higher up than Texas's offense usually. And then with, everything that's going on with Michigan, this is kind of gut check time for them. This could be end of the season if they lose this game, essentially, because you still have Ohio State on schedule, you still have Oregon on the schedule, Indiana is looking different, you have Illinois on the schedule still. Like, this is kind of a must win in week 4 for Michigan.
Yeah, for sure. And, looking at Michigan's schedule, I'm pretty sure that they really only had a handful of away games. So they had a huge home field advantage in a lot of their big games, especially, with Texas coming in. Now you got USC going to the big house. Like, that is a huge environment, a huge advantage. I think they get Michigan State at home this year. I believe so.
I know they get Oregon at home.
Yeah,
It's at
I
Ohio
think they
State.
get. I think they get Michigan State at home too. So, that's just a huge advantage that they have yet to, take advantage of. But
They get Michigan State at home, Oregon at home, and they're at Ohio State, at Indiana, and at Illinois.
yeah, so I mean, if they can't turn it around now, it's like this kind of like a waste of a good, kind of easier schedule. I wouldn't say too easy because they are playing high ranked opponents with USC, Texas, but a lot of teams don't get that. They're all away games or what have you, because you go to the big house, 9 out of 10 games are sold out, and they're allowed. It's a hard environment to play, and I think they have to use that as their advantage. They, like you said, really attack that USC defense with the run, and when you do that and you can do it successfully, you're going to minimize turnovers, and you're gonna quicken that game to give USC less opportunities to put up points, to put points on the board. So I think that's the name of the game, especially with Alex Orji as their quarterback. Like you said, I think that's a lost opportunity of a little bit of, strategy and surprise that they just announced it so early. But yeah, definitely going forward, like you said, they're going to really focus on the run game, I think so. So they're going to shorten that game. So, but like you said, this almost has to be a must win for Michigan to kind of restore this season already. We're only in week 4, and we're already talking whether they're going to end up bowl eligible or not. Because the way Michigan has played in the first couple weeks, I think Michigan State can give them a run for their money. Like you said, Indiana's been looking really good, and I feel like Indiana always plays them tough. Ohio State, I think, is going to easily beat them this year with how they look. And like you said, they still have Oregon on the schedule. So, like I said, they might find themselves in a really bottom spot here and might not be able to be bowl eligible. And they'll be hoping just to finish 5-5 or 500, 6-6.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a step up, too, for USC's offensive line, because Michigan does have one of the best defensive lines in the country, have one of the better secondaries. So it's definitely, strength for strength on both sides. Michigan strengths defense, USC strengths the offense, and then the two weak parts are going against each other. The USC defense has been viewed as the weak link, and Michigan's offense is weak link right now. So it's really going to come down to, can USC score? If USC scores points, can Michigan keep up? And I don't know if they can do that. So let's do prediction time for our games of the week. Well, what do you have game or score prediction for Tennessee Oklahoma?
Like I said, I think it's going to be a little bit closer game than people think, but I still think there's going to be a lot of points put on the board. I think Tennessee will end up winning. I think it'll be by maybe a 34-20 game at the end of it.
All right, I'm going to go Tennessee 45 and Oklahoma 21. Now for the Michigan USC game, I could see this one being a little bit more low scoring than that game. I'm going to go USC 31 and Michigan 17.
Yeah, like I said, I have not seen the Michigan defense we seen last year, and with all the coaching changes like that, I think Lincoln Riley's gonna put up some points. So I'm gonna go USC 38, Michigan will do 27.
All right, let's move on to some of the other games in the conference that we're kind of highlighting. I'll start with Penn State versus Kent State. Get our battle of the states here. Looking at the game, should be a complete utter blowout. I'm looking at the line right now. Penn State is currently favored by 49. It'll be one of the largest spreads in Penn State history. And they Kent State's coming off of the Tennessee game last week where they lost 71 to nothing. It's very possible Kent State is one of the worst teams in the country. Penn State's coming off a bye, and really looking to find that offensive flow and rhythm, and also locking in on the defense. Not really a whole lot to talk about. I mean, KJ Winston's now out for Penn State, which is a huge loss. Probably their best defensive player besides Abdul Carter, and was really like the anchor in the back end of the secondary there. So that's a big storyline looking forward. James Franklin had a press conference today saying, it's a long term injury. So that means he's expected to be back at some point this season, but we have no clue on the timeline. And then I think really for this game, you're really looking at, putting up a bunch of points before the first half and getting your starters out of there, and really getting the running game going with Singleton and Allen early on. And then, finding what receivers are going to be important this year. We know Wallace is good, but he wasn't active last game against Bowling Green. Fleming has yet to really get going. Clifford hasn't got going. Does one of the young guys really start to step up here? So it's a lot. And there's still a lot of questions with Penn State. They're a good team, but can they take that next step to where they want to be? And this is the type of game where you just saw them lose to Tennessee 71 to nothing. Like you got to show up and win, and you got to cover the spread. Basically, you got to cover the spread of 49 for it to be impressive. Anything less, if it's even in the 30s, it's disappointing. If you only win by 30 something, and then what do you have for an SEC game we should look at?
I'm gonna take a look at Arkansas and Auburn. The line right now is Auburn's favored at -3. Last week they started a new quarterback, Hank Brown, over Peyton Thorne. I mean, granted, it was against New Mexico, so take it with what you want, but he did score like 4 touchdowns. He looked really good. And, maybe that's what reignites this Auburn offense. Hugh Freeze is another offensive minded coach. Usually you see his teams putting up points and are extremely efficient on third down. On the other side of the ball, Arkansas, they, like I said, Sam Pittman, he's coaching for his job this year, and I think he's been really aggressive with his play calling. They got the transfer quarterback from Boise, Taylon Green. He's a big-bodied quarterback. He's been slinging it, running it. So I think this will be a really tough game. I do think that Arkansas will win on the road this week. I just think that Auburn still doesn't have it all figured out yet. And now, like I said, with switching their quarterback, like I said, it's optimistic to see him score 4 touchdowns against New Mexico, but now you're back in the SEC. And, Sam Pittman likes to win in the trenches. Expect him to pressure Hank Brown, throw a lot of blitzes around. So I think Arkansas squeaks by on the road in Auburn.
Yeah, looking at another game here in the Big Ten. It's actually a Friday night game. Illinois is going to Nebraska. Ranked matchup with Illinois sneaking into the rankings at 24 and Nebraska sitting at 22. I think this is a statement game for Nebraska. Are you legit? Basically, I think this is the first game where we find out exactly how real Nebraska is. Schedule super favorable, and then if you look, they've looked good, but the competition also hasn't been there. Same thing for Illinois. I mean, Illinois has got a win over a fraudulent ranked Kansas team that you can hang your hat on. You won't see Kansas. Kansas shouldn't have been ranked based. They're being ranked based on last year. Team's not a top 25 team this year. Luke Altmaier's been slinging it for Illinois, and they always play stingy defense. This is probably the best defense that Nebraska has faced this season. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Dylan Raiola handles that, the quarterback from Nebraska, and see what Illinois throws at him. It's going to be really important here for Nebraska, which can be always be said for them is take care of the football. If they can win the turnover battle, I think they have a really good shot with this game being at home. That stadium's rocking. Will Compton's got the pre. I don't know if you've seen Will Compton's videos for the pregame rile up, but he's feeling it down there. Nebraska's one of those places that is always special, especially when they're good. When Nebraska's good, like those fans are, like none other. So that's the second game I'm looking at in the Big Ten is this big Friday night game is going to be Illinois visiting Nebraska, where we kind of find out where these two teams are. Is Nebraska as good as they've looked, and how real is Illinois too?
Yeah, and I like Matt Rule in Nebraska. I think he's always been a good college coach. He went to the NFL and kind of didn't do great. So coming back to college, I like to see it. He's a really good coach. But yeah, it's like Nebraska's definitely a top 10 environment when they're good. They come out and show out and they're loud. So it's definitely a tough place to play.
Yeah, you gotta get
Another
that
game.
go big red.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking red machine, baby. Another game that we're gonna highlight in the SEC. It's kind of bottom feeders for this year. Is Florida visits Mississippi State. Florida opens as a -6 favorite on the road, which is kind of surprising how they've
Not
been.
when you get beat by Toledo.
I mean, that's true, but they're. I heard that Florida's gonna still continue to use both quarterbacks, which to me is always just kind of a recipe for failure. You got to stick to a guy, and I know they want to give Graham Mertz the opportunity to play, and then see what DJ Lagway's got and see what he's all about. But to me, in today's college football, you gotta stick with a guy, and to me, you might as well just start DJ and see how it goes because, like I said, this game, it's almost a must win for Florida because after this game or after a couple more games, they go through a gauntlet of the SEC, and I don't think they're going to win a single one of them. So, that 5-6 game losing streak is coming. So this is one that they definitely need just for the program, for all for the students and just the environment down there. They really need to win on the road in the SEC. So, but I think Florida will win. But I'm just surprised that they're pretty large favorite.
Yeah, I mean, every week Napier's coaching for his job at this point. Looking at the slate, what's left in the Big Ten is nothing really special. You got UCLA transfer going to LSU, which really shouldn't be a game. Virginia Tech, which kind of a couple middling teams there. Minnesota, and probably what's going to be a snooze fest. Gets prime time treatment, so I guess we'll go with Iowa,
Gross.
Minnesota, just
Yeah.
because it's going to be prime time. Iowa, if they could just get enough offense, but then again, the defense hasn't looked as strong as it has in the past this year. They're giving it more points than normal, and then Minnesota is just a slog every year. they're they're Iowa North. They do have the better quarterback in this matchup, so that's definitely something to look out for. Bosmer's really started to look better the last couple games, so Minnesota has looked better offensively, and their defense is stout. It's in Minnesota, so Minnesota's going to have the home team advantage there. I could see. Let's see who's favored. You got Iowa by 2.5. I could see Minnesota pulling off the slight upset here. They just have
Whose
the better
punter is
quarter.
better?
Yeah, right, exactly. He's better. He's
That's who's
better than.
favored.
Yeah, he's better than McNamara. Like McNamara's, he's tried. He's tried. Like, has he looked better this year? A little bit, but you haven't seen anything world beating. There's just better quarterback, so I think both defenses are kind of equally matched. I think Iowa's come down a little bit from last year, and Minnesota's always got that stingy defense. So it's gonna be the Big Ten. The game that Big Ten always gets made fun of. 10 straight
Yeah.
punts, and it's 3-6 at halftime, or 3-5 because there's a safety, of course. There'll be a
Yeah.
punt return touchdown.
That's what I said. Is who has the best punter
Right,
should be
right.
favored.
There's going to be a punt
But
return touchdown, and then there's going to be a safety, and it's going to be like
yeah,
it's going to be like 15-13 because both teams are constipated offensively.
yeah, and for that to get a primetime game is just pathetic.
Well, what I've noticed with the primetime games for at least NBC is they do like to spread it around. They're not gonna keep, they're not gonna put Ohio State on there to put Ohio State on there. They really like they don't like to have more than they don't like to have the same team on there 2 or 3 times. NBC is kind of really it's spreading the wealth, which is nice. Every team deserves to have a night game. Penn State's getting the night game treatment against Illinois. Don't know what network it's on yet, but yeah, it's nice to see them spreading the wealth out to different teams.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the SEC outside the top couple games we've already mentioned, there's not a whole lot. Texas is playing UL Monroe. Ole Miss is playing Georgia Southern. The only other one that could get some highlight is UCLA is traveling to LSU. So, it's a Big Ten SEC matchup. Unfortunately, UCLA is kind of
Bad.
on the downward back burners, but Brian Kelly likes to not coach good games, so it could be close. But I mean, the line's -24. LSU still ranked 16. It's hard to win in Baton Rouge, so I don't expect it to be close. But just something to highlight that it's a Big Ten SEC matchup in season is always nice to see. These big conferences kind of going at it.
Yeah. So those are kind of like the other big games we're looking at. Kind of a weak slate this week. I mean, starting next week, we really get into conference plays, so we should see a lot more worthy matchups, I should say. I mean, conference gets started next week, so this should be like the last of the a lot of non-conference games against weaker opponents. So I'm going to rattle off my 3 kind of best bets for this week on our Campus on Odds segment. First one I'm gonna go is Penn State -49, and I'm just saying this is the best bet because I want it to happen. I want them to cover the 49. I'm trying to will it to happen. Give me one dominant performance. Just give me one game where you win by 6. Run it up. Just for once, run it up.
Yeah, especially after the Bowling Green disaster
Fiasco.
of the first half, at least.
Not a disaster, fiasco. Another one I'm looking at is the Rutgers Virginia Tech game. Virginia Tech's favored by 3.5. I just think Rutgers is the better team there. So I'm going to take Rutgers plus 3.5. I mean, even if they're not the better team or don't end up winning, I think they keep it close. So my other bet's going to be Rutgers plus 3.5. And then I am going to go with the Iowa Minnesota under is tempting me. It's just tempting me.
It's like 36. If they do not score over 36 combined, they should just both stop playing football altogether.
Yeah, it's 35.5.
Oh God, it's even gone.
I'm actually going to go Michigan State, Boston College. Another primetime matchup, Big Ten going to another Power 4 school. BC is favored by 6.5. I will take Michigan State plus 6.5. Just for the fact I think Boston College has been artificially inflated um, because they beat Florida State, who wasn't a good team. They hung with Missouri, but that was also Missouri's first like real game of the season. So I think Boston College is good. Don't get me wrong, but I think they're kind of overinflated. So I think this line's a little overinflated. So give me Michigan State plus 6.5.
Righty. Moving on to my 3. I'm going to start off, and I am going to take Florida money line. I can't get them to cover the 6. I just can't do it, especially on the road. I just don't see it. I think they'll win. I can't take the spread, so Florida money line on the first one. Second one, I will go with Tennessee to cover the spread of -7 against Oklahoma. Like I said, I just think Tennessee will outlast Oklahoma. I think it will be a tight first half, but they'll pull away in the second half. So Tennessee -7 cover, and then I'm gonna go. Like I said, I'm gonna go Arkansas money line, which would be an underdog. I don't know what the odds are right now, but they will be an underdog as Auburn is a -3 favorite. So I will go with Arkansas money line on the road.
All right. I mean, you could take the +3. You could take Arkansas +3. Nope, not doing it.
Straight money line.
Can't make me. All right, let's move on to our lock of the week. This is the one bet that we feel the most confident in making it. My lock of the week hit last week. We won't talk about my other 3 best bets. We won't talk about those because it was 0 for 3. But that lock hit, and that lock hit big because we are Indiana people here. We are. Whether you like it or not, Jay, we're Indiana people here. My lock of the week, I'm going USC -5.5. I think they cover it with ease. I think the line's low just because they're trying to get action on it. I don't see if USC is the team we think they are, especially with that offense and the lack of offense on Michigan. I don't see any problem with USC covering that line.
Yeah, I agree. I will promote my 3 picks last week because all 3 of mine went, but we will not talk about my lock of the week because my Georgia Bulldogs let me down and struggled mightily against Kentucky. That was the only one that did not hit last week on my slate. But my lock of the week will be Texas -44.5 going against UL Monroe. We're going to see Arch Manning, kind of debut of a starter for Texas. They win big. They won other games 52-0 and 70-something. So I don't think this Texas offense misses a step without Ewers. I think Manning steps right in, puts up a lot of points. I think that's an easy cover for this Texas team.
All right, so there you have our best bets our locks of the week and our best bets of the week. That'll do it for us on the Week 4 preview. Subscribe, and review to the YouTube if you guys find us interesting. We're trying to build a community. We like talking college football, and hopefully you like listening to us. So once again, thanks for watching.
Yep, see ya.